Hello good people, Emmanuel Safali bringing you a very special episode of the Promise Insurance Show. And this time round, we are still discussing the financial wellness talk that was brought to you in conjunction with Post Bank and UAP Old Mutual. And we had a very interesting panel discussion last Sunday. We discussed so many things. We had a very rich panel who have lots of brilliant ideas. We had UIA, Uganda Uganda Insurance Association, led by Jonan Chisache. We had the acting MD then, who is now the finance manager, Tony Mudola, making very wonderful remarks about the brand UAP Old Mutual. We had the MD, Julius Kaketo of Post Bank. We had the executive director of Post Bank, that is Andrew Kabera. We had a testimonial from, actually we're going to delve deeper into the testimonial from Gloria. Then we also had the chairman of the board of UAP Old Mutual Life, that is Professor Samuel Sejaka. So, as we had, of course, the brilliant moderator, Mildred Tuhaise, who gave this whole discussion. So, today, let's listen in to what the MD of Post Bank, Julius Kaketo, has to say about market penetration. Keep tuned.
And coming to you, Mr. Kaketo, when I asked him about the market saturation, and he clearly stated so, and that is it, that when we see the market saturation probably in the Central Business District, we think that is a representation of the entire country. And that's more or less been the same kind of aspect even when it comes to banks and access to financial services for the rest of the Ugandans. What are you doing as Post Bank to ensure that you break that kind of, I would say, chain, that you're seeing many of these financial institutions concentrating in the urban areas, concentrating in probably the Central Business District, and yet a greater percentage of Ugandans live outside of this small box that we are all used to looking at?
Thank you. For Post Bank, actually, we have distribution across the country, both in terms of the old-fashioned way of reaching out to the customers and combined with the right technology. I'll start with the old-fashioned way. We've got 53 branches spread across the country, plus 3 contact centers, and these are everywhere, from Kotido to Yombe to Kanungu. We have branches all over the country. And these are supported by mobile vans. We have 14 mobile vans. A mobile van is really a licensed branch on the wheels. It can do everything that you get at a branch. It can lend money, take deposits, open accounts. It's licensed by the Bank of Uganda, the way a branch is licensed. Now, these ones go out to the rural areas to reach customers who are not based in town centers and localities. Of course, we have the ATMs, but in addition to that, with the agency banking now in place, we have over 400 agents that are spread again all over the country. In addition to that, we are part of the ABC agency platform that has over 10,000 agents. So in terms of outreach, we actually reach right to the rural communities. Then we have the phone banking. A lot of transactions are self-service. You can do on the phone. You don't have to be near a branch or next to a branch. We have internet banking. And very importantly, we bank circles and groups. Because the moment you have a circle, actually, it's one account in the bank, but it's an account reaching out to quite a number of people. If you support and power this circle, it will go ahead to transform lives for so many people out there that actually are not in direct contact with the bank. So that way, actually, the number of customers we serve, in my view, are understated, because a lot of these groups and circles are one account, but actually they're carrying and serving a lot of Ugandans. So we have a mix of both the traditional and the technology, the modern way of doing banking, to reach out to as many Ugandans as possible.
Maybe if I could just interrupt. I totally agree with you when you say, yes, it's just one account, but it's representative of probably hundreds or tens of people together. But on the flip side, one would ask, what is the sort of perception, or what have you experienced, especially in the rural areas where you're banking circles, that I am willing to bank on behalf, we are a group, and not necessarily as an individual having an account as Mildred Tuhaise, not as one group of about 10, 15 people? What's the experience on ground?
Again, it's to do with the way our communities are set up. It's a lot easier for people in a rural area who know each other. They meet all the time. They socialize. It's very easy for them. Yeah, there's a lot of trust. It's very easy for them to come together and actually mobilize support from a bank, as opposed to each one going individually, trying to negotiate on their own. I think it's a lot easier if you are together in a group and you're supported together. Additionally, a group knows its requirements at a local level, which a bank may not know. They will know probably our challenge is around ABC. And if we get this money, this is how we are going to use it to address our challenges or to take us forward as a group. So there is a lot of that. And I think Uganda has over 6,000 licensed SACCOs. So much as we have the traditional banks, the SACCOs are doing a very good job in getting to the rural communities. And I think as a bank, when we support a SACCO, we believe we are supporting so many Ugandans who are behind that SACCO.
Welcome back from that insightful talk from the MD Postbank. He has talked really very serious matter that I can't really summarize here, but let's also now listen into a very brilliant testimonial from the client of UAP Old Mutual, who has been working with Bank of Uganda for quite some time. She's called Gloria. Please listen in and you'll give us feedback. We shall also listen in from Andrew Kabera, the Executive Director of Postbank, talking about the distribution channels that the bank has to increase this penetration and education of both banking and insurance. Keep tuned.
Gloria, coming to you, as young parents, or when you give birth to a child, you're thinking about the future already, even when the child is still in the womb. Which schools will they go to? What kind of education you want to give to them? And when we talk about insurance, we know that various insurers have come through to give us education policies, including UAP Old Mutual. And I know, I've been told, that you are one of the clients, which is a brilliant one, because sometimes people sell ideas or sell things that they themselves are actually not part of. What advice would you give to that parent about, you know, this education insurance? Someone is saying, why do I give you my money now to educate my child 18 years to come at university? What if I am not around? Like Jonan was saying, you know, people live in a lot of uncertainty. What's been the experience? What's the advantage of taking up such packages?
Thank you very much, Mildred. Yeah, yes, I'm here mainly, I'm sure, because of being, I might be one of the long outstanding clients when it comes to most of the policies here, and especially
terms and conditions applied to inviting.
Yes, I will speak to the SOMESA plan, but I've done others here. Okay. You know, okay, there are many books in the world, but you know there is the Bible. Yeah. And I like to refer to the Bible because many of us can believe in it. And you know the Bible, which we all read, we all like to quote Jeremiah 29, that whenever we are in problems, I know the plans that I have for you. Before you were made, before I formed you, I knew you, and I have good plans for you. So I like to apply it in a different way. If God, before he formed you in your womb, he knew you, not so. And we were created in his image, and we are supposed to also have wisdom like him. Why for us don't we also plan ahead for those ones we also bring in who are formed in our wombs? Because before God formed us in our wombs, he knew us, not so. And he made some plans. So how did I come to, before I tell you whether it's good or bad, how did I come to have a UAP?
You're freaking us out talking about bad somewhere, yes. But it's okay.
No, whether it's good or bad, okay. But it's a good thing. It has worked for me. I can attest to it. My husband can attest to it. So we gave birth to our firstborn, and both of us happen to have lost our parents. And we had had some nasty experiences when our parents died. I realized that the relatives can take everything. You can have built houses for rent, they are taken. You leave for the children money in the bank, it is taken. Generally, everything you leave for them can be gone. And so I was like, but we have this, now we have given birth to a firstborn, we have a child there. So for us, what plans do we have? Are we going to sit there and say every child comes with their own luck? Are we going to say, risky? Are there things we can do? So I wanted some assurance that indeed, should anything ever go wrong, we can have a fallback position. Our children can study. Because I believed that, having looked after myself since I was 17, I knew that the thing that made me survive was my parents left me with an education. Yes, they left me in senior 6, but they left me in a good school. And at that point, they were in the village, but they left me in one of the best schools in Western Uganda, Mary Hill. So they died when I was in senior 6, and I was at a point where anybody could pick me up because they had given me a good foundation. It's not like if they had left me in the village, I would have been picked up by one of the village old men to marry me, and I would be one of those women in the village. So I said, I think the most important thing that the child needs, leave them with a good education, good foundation, and when you have spoken into their life very well. My mother, having been a teacher, she used to speak to me so much. So I was looking for such a solution. So in looking for that solution, visited some. My husband is a doctor, so I used to do the walking of looking around. And somehow I ended up at UAP. And so I went to another like 2. But when I reached at UAP, of course, as someone who had done SCCA, I wanted to review the financials. I wanted to know what is the structure. I really wanted to know who I'm dealing with, because I would hear people don't pay these insurance companies. Wabi, they are thieves, they are everything. So to cut the long story short, we sat down. We put down the plan, of course, with my husband. We said, how much money would we want our child to have when they are like 18 years to join university? And we calculated, we looked at the kind of university we wanted, we calculated, and so there were many years ahead. And what is the difference between just a bank account nowadays with this partnership that Postbank and UAP has, which were not there at that time? You would have a bank account, was a separate bank account. Insurance was separate. So the only thing that gave me something similar to what the two are entering into was that SOMESA plan. So we put what we wanted the child to have. She is now, in 2 weeks, she'll make 20. So it means it's matured. So we put that on her 18th birthday, we would want this amount of money to be there, because we had computed that that's when she would be ready for university. And so we worked backwards, and then we said, I have rugezigezi sometimes, as people say. So I walked up to UAP, that building at Kimathi. We didn't, yes, the agent talked, I told them, you agents, you like even to add in your lies. So we walked with my husband, and we went up to the real office, sat there, and I got the paper, read sentence by sentence, asked questions, and then I told them, we do not want that when the man dies, or if I ever die, we want, if anything happens to any of us, this policy must mature. And we want an assurance. So, of course, we built the 4 policy, the 3 of us. The 4, it was the 2 of us, the agent, and I think that person must have been the general manager at that time. I forget his name, he's no longer in UAP. And so we set up the first SOMESA plan, and of course, we later set up for all the 4. We have 4 children, and all of them have the SOMESA plan. There are many, even the Bible tells us that there are many investments in Ecclesiastes 11:12. It always tells us, put your investing in not in one, in about 7 or 8 ventures. So this is one of them. And so we sat down and we calculated how much we wanted to put. They worked backwards and they took our average age, we went for medical checkup, and they said, this is how much you'd have to put per month. Of course, since the years were many, the money they said we can put per month was equal to how much we normally paid in wedding meetings. and at gatherings of Arsenal playing. So I was like, oh, now we even have where to keep some of our money. So it was not a difficult journey putting that money aside. Okay, even when the children became 4, it wasn't a difficult journey. The most important is that it was like a bank account, because every month we would put. We had chosen to put every quarter because we had combined when we were dating, so we had a car rental. So that rent would come, drop on the account, then be picked to a UAP. And so the most advantageous of having a school fees plan is that you have like a bank account, but it is insured. If you get any problem, there are those events that would make it mature. And me, I needed that assurance, plus that assurance that even if anything happened to me on the 18th birthday, the only person who would be paid would be that child, the person you have written there. So that one I knew, even if anything ever happened to me or my husband, even if we were never there, on this child's 18th birthday, she will be an adult, she can sign, and nobody can ever go. And there was, if anything happens to you, we shall give them a certain percentage every month, no, every year. And that percentage, when I computed, it was good to pay for many of these nice schools in secondary. So that's how we entered on that. What have been the advantages? There is that certainty. One, it's a good saving way, save with a purpose. So it was a way of saving with a purpose. Money set aside with a purpose of that when the child reaches university, you don't have to start meandering around, and yet you produced. Yet for you, when God, before he formed you, he knew you and he knew the plans he had for you. Now for you, you're here just producing and then just looking around for fees. Long story short, it matured during COVID, the whole maturity, and because we were still alive, they added on bonuses, okay? So from the sum assured, we got extra by about almost 30%. That day it hit the account. It was so nice. Yeah, that day it was so nice. I actually sat down and I was like, you mean, would I have this money if I had decided to keep it somewhere? Never, I would never. Of course, there was lockdown, so there was a delay a bit. But as I speak, she's going to university. And the only thing we needed were her results and herself. We didn't need anything else. Even in this economy, when people are saying the economy is hard, for us only we needed was for her to be alive and also to have passed and to be there. Some of you who work in UAP, you know her. She did internship here. She's called Denise, I'm the mom. So she did internship here. So all we needed was a brain, her being alive, and an admission letter. That's all we needed. And she's now at university. And we are there reaping from a decision we made many years ago when she was still a nursery school child. And now she's at university and we are here only settled. And the siblings also have. So why do I think we live in uncertainty. You can have houses for rent, you can have bonds, you can have what, but I like this, the insurance products, what is good about them. They are a bit far but near, you can access them. But also when you might be having very little money, that sometimes it may not fit in a bond where by the time you go to a bond through your commercial bank and you have only some little money, the interest can be eaten up. But you know, here you can send on mobile money, you can deposit on which day, and every day you get a statement. It might look little, but it's a lot. And when you, after consistently doing it, you see that it's a long. Of course, with time, I became like one of the other extended staff that started telling people about it. My neighbors joined, my workmates, my students, my church. I think even our clergy, my church, we also have umbrella trust funds for our clergy. In other words, we save for everybody, that when we get a new clergy, we start putting for them some little money that the day they transfer them, they would have something, okay? Instead of disturbing Christians, let's send this man away. Okay. For us, we start preparing for your exit when you reach. So they are good products. They create certainty. When you need the money, you can get it. And having worked, because I've worked in procurement at the central bank for about 7 years, Now I work in administration. I'm a contract manager. So I have procured insurance. So I have run it. I have done claims. So I know they pay and I know how big they pay. And so I encourage people, take up insurance. You can have so many other things you do. You can take up insurance because it helps, it pays. Sometimes we die because of ignorance. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. That's where we get a standing ovation, actually. If we didn't have we still have a lot more. That's interesting. I think one particular thing I pick out is that we tend to invest for. Every time you're hearing a parent, I'm investing for, but sometimes you need to invest in the children, and that investment, education is the in, as opposed to I'm building houses, I am, buying a lot of land for the children. There is a lot more that you need to do. And at one point in time, I thought Gloria had come to my home because I used that particular scripture to name my child, Jeremiah. I alone know the plans, and I pick up that, yeah, if God knew before I was formed, then with the parents need to. Mr. Kavera, I need to come to you. Some schools have a motto that knowledge is power. Even the Bible that Gloria was referring to speaks at a point in time that people are lost because of a lack of knowledge. As a bank, the opportunities, these aspects that can be taken up, but unfortunately people do not have this information, either by default because they're not looking out for the information, or the people who possess the information have not come out as much to speak about what is available and what people can take up. What are you doing as Post Bank Uganda to ensure that these aspects about financial literacy are out in the public, and it is a decision? It is just for someone to say, let me make this decision and take this bold step to do something about my financial well-being.
Okay. Thanks, Mildred. That's a good question and a tough one. I think as Post Bank we're trying to have a hybrid. You can talk about the digital side, but also the money one. We go to the communities because, as you are aware, we are scattered all over the country. So we have these workshops we have with the communities up country, where we meet customers, those who are, already with us and those who are intending to join us, and we talk about our products. We also do webinars to try and take people through those who are a bit digital. But as you are aware, communication of recent is quite tough. This is something I think not only for banks, even maybe insurance. The way we used to have, when you look at the communication channels over time have kept on, changing. Those days it was easy to, for example, even counting, I remember they used to write things on houses. But now we are around, 45 million Ugandans? So communication is a bit of a challenge. So you have the physical and the digital. But what needs to be done is to have what I would call the digital economy, where you have people, at least virtually, where you can see them. Those of us who are going in the markets, you can see a pool of people around, and you wonder, where do I start from? Do I get this huge thing and I start talking, or what? So when you talk about the digital economy, is to get the market you see in Nakawa here, and you have them on the phone. Then you're able to communicate. As it is now, it's quite a challenge. We do both physical and the digital approach.
Okay, what is the perception, especially when you're doing the physical? I am just imagining, for example, you walk into a market, you have very beautiful information, and people are like, because you're going at the time when they're working. The perception when you're physically, engaging these people about financial literacy, what do you see, or what has been the experience? It's one thing to take something good. Somewhere in southwestern Uganda, they always say, when you throw dried meat to a dog, it will first run thinking probably you're throwing a stone, not knowing that this is actually food to them.
Okay, quite challenging, but as banks, at least we have an advantage. Everyone is looking for money, so you can tell people are going to give you money. For example, when you go to the people and say, guys, look here, we have a campaign is going on. It's called Tumbulo Gatako Mutindo. Value addition, literally said. in Uganda. So we are having these workshops all over the country. And what we are saying is that we know that you want money, but before we give you the money, first come and we talk to you. So within those sessions, you're able to talk to these clients, try to educate them, talk about the products, what they need to do. When you talk about agriculture, why is it that we lose a lot of, harvest due to poor management? So how do you add value? So the moment you talk to them, then those who are serious or those who are willing and able are then given loans. So I think for us, that's the advantage we have, that at least everyone is looking for money. So somebody can listen.
The people from the central Uganda always say that. But it is really, really beautiful that there always has to be a catch.
Wow, welcome back from that insightful discussion. The testimonials have been brilliant. The promise of the brands, both UAP Old Mutual and Postbank, have been brilliant. Please, let's support our partners in this by, of course, giving them business, checking out their services, look out for their partners, the distribution channels, whether the agents, whether the fintechs they're using, name it. It has been a brilliant presentation. We can't wait to hear for the next part of the segment next week. Please keep tuned. For today, I want to remind you to hope for the best while preparing for the worst. I remain Emmanuel Sanyu Safali, bringing you the Promise Insurance. So, till then, adios.